I just, for me, I just want to keep doing that quote: bigger, brighter, louder, faster. Like, just keep doing that. Like, that is my motivation, is to just do what I do, but better.
Hello, it's Zoe, mentor, creator, and mischief maker behind the Mischief Movement podcast, your weekly inspo for people looking for more hell yeah in their life. I'm on a mission to help you rediscover that rebellious streak, find your confident inner badass, and stop holding yourself back from the amazing life that you're dreaming of. Why? Because I know what it's like to wake up one day and think, wow, this isn't the life I'd imagined for myself. But I decided to bring the fun back, get curious about the things that made me feel alive, and empower others to boldly rebel against the ordinary with me. And so the Mischief Movement was born. I've always loved the word mischief because it's cheeky, playful, and a little bit rebellious. And that's exactly what I hope this podcast brings to the table. Now I'm daring you to jump in with me. Are you ready? Let's go. If you're a budding artist wanting to take your passion full time, if you're a creative and you've been led to believe that you can't make money from a creative career, if you're a petrol head or multi-passionate, curious to know whether it's possible to combine those passions and create something truly magical and unique to you, oh my God, do not go anywhere, because this episode with Ian Cook spills the beans on what being a full-time artist really looks like. So yeah, spoiler, it's totally possible. It's a long one because we covered a lot of ground, from uni days to struggling to earn a creative living to getting a lucky break and kicking off his career. Or was it really just luck? As you'll discover, if there's one thing that Ian is brilliant at, it's using his drive, determination, and unfailing self-belief to make things happen for himself. And I think if you only take away one thing from this podcast, please let it be that. Believing in yourself will carry you way further than talent alone. But I'll let you judge for yourselves. So get comfy and prepare to meet this week's mischief maker, Ian Cook.
Well, Ian, I feel like this conversation has been a long while coming, actually. But I'm really excited to finally have you here and quiz you about what you do. So, what is your mischief?
What is my mischief? Now, I was thinking about this. I think I'm pretty dogged in terms of, like, if I'm like really want something, I'm like a dog with a bone. Like, I'm gonna get it. And the other thing I think is that there's not really a line between PopBa Colour and Ian Cook. Like, it's kind of
one of the same.
It's a very blurred line because it is the business, and it is what I do, and it's what I'm known for doing. But it's also like, it is my, like, I live and breathe it. I love doing it. I'm very fortunate to be able to have it as my job. But it's also like, it's hard work, and it's sitting there. I wake up at 7:30, and I'm like, right, today I'm doing this, and I'm never. It's almost like, it's also I'm not satisfied, because I am. It's great to have done things, but it's always like, what's next? Like, what could I do? Yeah, and that determination to kind of be like, always the next project, always the next artwork, and how to get there. Yeah, and I'm when it's come to art and stuff, even from school, like, I don't say broke the rules, because it's, rules are there. You need to abide by certain rules, but in art, there aren't rules, and I've pretty much from day dot. I remember being at school, and like, when they said, right, you got to produce an A4 sized artwork, and I'd go in with an A2 one. Like, I'd go on something twice the size, and the teacher would be like, "Well, I asked for an A4." I said, "Well, I've done it, but done it bigger." Like, you can't complain at doing. I've done more than you wanted me to, but that I told you. So they was like, yeah, but I kind of didn't want to, and I've actually done it better.
Well, were you deliberately doing that to antagonise them, being like, well, I don't care what size it is, I'm just going to do what I want? Or was it a case of, this is too restrictive for me, I'm just going to see where the creativity goes?
Why wouldn't I?
Yeah,
like, from school, like, from very young age, like, art and creativity, producing things, whether that's, painting, drawing. I did three what was GCSEs in arts, where I did art, textiles, and graphics all at the same time, which no other student had done in the school. So I was able to drop one of the tech subjects to do graphics.
Yeah.
But I love the challenge of I want to be that person who did that. So I think that it's always been in me as a my grandparents were relatively creative. My dad was a former art teacher.
Yeah.
I mean, and he pushed me when I was at school. Like, that was ingrained in me. I've always had that kind of determination to kind of go, right, I want to do that. But there's a quote, a Dewey Nicks, who's a American photographer, quote, and that is, you want to make things bigger, brighter, louder, faster than the manufacturer's specification. And I've always liked that quote, because it's basically what I do. I just turn it up and go, right, whether it's painting, drawings, whatever, it's performance, it's people are watching it, engaging with it, seeing it at events. So it's more than just, today here's a pretty artwork on the wall. It's like, I'm creating it for other people.
Yeah, you're creating experience, aren't you? And when we first met many years ago, you were in a phase of PopBa and Colour where you were painting these gigantic artworks from radio controlled cars.
Yeah, and I still do it, literally.
I'd love to know what's been the evolution over the years of PopBa and Colour, and what is it for somebody who hasn't experienced it yet?
What is PopBa and Colour? Well, so there's a couple of different elements to the business. Yeah, essentially. But the business started in 2006, 2007. So prior to like any of the social media channels being a thing. Yeah. But before that, I've always been quite a sharing, like an outgoing kind of like ta-da! Person in terms of my artwork.
You're an oversharer. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
In terms of my artwork, I wouldn't say like as a kid I was particularly like outgoing as such. I don't think that really happened until like college. Until I went to like a proper art college. Like at school I never really fitted in. Didn't particularly enjoy school, but I knew I could smash art. Like I knew I was the best artist in that school. And whatever the kids peers said, whatever came out of my hands, like it was good. And it was far better than anybody else. I wanted to be a car designer. My uncle worked at what was then Rover Group, and I wanted to be a car designer like him. I did a week's work experience, what was then Rover, and then realised I'm not an engineer. And having married an engineer, I'm definitely not an engineer. Like I know that. Like we are polar opposites of how we work.
Yeah.
And like an engineer is a bit like a graphic designer. Like you have a brief, you work to the brief, you create. You can be creative in what you're doing, but generally you're as creative as what the end user or the client wants. They kind of know what they want. It's this and this fixed to these parameters. So I went into illustration to start off with because I'm good with tight, accurate stuff. And then when I was on the illustration course, they then cancelled it, like whilst I was on it. So we were the last year going through it, and they were like, "And here's the Macintosh computers next door." And I was like, "Nah, I'm not. That's not me. I'm not going to set a computer and create." And then I found the fine art rooms downstairs, so the fine art painting rooms, and that was like paint splashing and the stuff going on. And I was like, "I want to be in there. That's where I want to be."
Amazing.
How do I get there? Now what's the process of me going from I'm tied to an illustration course, but I was like, I want to do fine art because it looks fun and there's no rules.
Yeah.
And I don't have to be tied to a Mac because I was like, look, I'm not a Mac. I'm not a graphic designer. For some reason, they're like, oh, right, well, you could join the fine art course. You still have to finish your illustration, so you still got to do illustration, but you can also join fine art and see how you go. And so then I was up against peers who were 18 months, 2 years older than me, because it meant that I wasn't doing foundation. Like, so in art, you did your BTEC and then did foundation, and then you went on to university.
Yeah.
So I joined the final, and I was given like 6 weeks to prove myself.
Okay.
And basically, I got a distinction. I went over and above what, and I was working there till late. Like I was putting the hours in. Like I was in there every spare minute I had. I was in that studio, working, creating, doing stuff. I then got my fine art portfolio together and then applied to go to Winchester to do fine art at Winchester. What kind of helped is that I accidentally put the wrong course code in. So I applied for Winchester to do fine art, but it turns out that I put the fashion code into the system.
Oh, wow.
So they rang me up and went, you've applied for fashion, don't you? And I went, a what? And they're like, yeah, your course code you put on is fashion. You don't want to apply for fashion, do you? I was like, no, I'm fine art. And then they rang back and said, look, we've had a dropout. You can come and have an interview. And I love that challenge of being a bit, not an underdog, but like proving myself, like going, right, I'm good enough to be here. I've earned it.
Yeah.
And also being around older people, like you get a thicker skin. Like you kind of like go, okay, right, I'm in crits back then. Whether they do it now or not, I don't know. But when you're having crits, you're 17 and they're 19. They're brutal, man.
Really?
And if you listen to everybody's bit of feedback, you'll get somewhere. Like it's only opinion.
Yeah. Then
you take it on board and go, okay, yeah, that's interesting. That's that might work for me, or my work, or how I work. So so it was. I was able to go to Winchester. It was great to move away from Birmingham, where we speak like this in Birmingham, and so I went down to Winchester and got this accent because arrived in Winchester. They were like, you can't speak like that. Absolutely not. And Winchester was the right place for me because it was far enough away from home. It was just the right place at the right time for me.
Yeah.
It was a nice sized campus, and all the years knew each other. Like first years knew second years, third year. Like there wasn't that kind of like, oh, you're a first year.
Yeah.
So you all just kind of mingled together.
That's quite nice. Yeah.
Which was lovely. Which is what I kind of needed. I needed that kind of like, it felt like a bit like a family. But also like I had some really good peers. I just turned 18 when I went to university. Finished when I was 21. So I felt I was there at the time when I'd learned a lot about myself as a young person. Like, and I had people around me that were supportive, and I was able to have experiences like going out to Latvia and live out in Latvia for 3 months.
Wow.
But again, like I was determined to get a first class honours.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was there for. Like, yes, I was there to make friends, there to meet people, there to have an experience. But I was coming back with a first class. Like that was my absolute determination. And it was, I remember having a crit in the end of second year, or it might have been early third year. Got absolutely pulled apart. Like it was, what was I doing for my final major project? Like it was like, oh man, like I obviously hadn't conveyed my idea well enough. But actually, that's where PopBa Colour came from. I remember talking to a friend of mine, and called Craig, who's a year above me, but also from the Midlands, from Kidderminster.
Yeah.
And he said to me, he was like, "Is this about the car brand?" Yeah, because I'm a massive petrol head. Like, so it was my initial project. I wrote my dissertation on how Land Rovers feature in films and the characters how it supports the characters. I mean, I wasn't on a film course. I was on a fine art course. And Craig just went, "Is it about cars and brands, or is it just about colour?" And just, And I was like, maybe it's just about having fun and doing something different. So what I ended up doing for my degree show was I ended up cutting up all of my toy cars, all of the collection I'd amassed. I cut everything up by colour, made a sculpture, which is called PopBa Colour.
Mm-hmm.
So PopBa is a friendly explosion of colour. That's where the name PopBa Colour comes from, and that was the name of my degree show. So I've had the brand name, the name for a long time. That's what it was. Right? My degree show, you walked into this room, and it had like a sculpture. Imagine like an organic form almost, but it was all done by colour. And then you had this bottom bit that rotated, so mechanical bit. It had electric motors. That went. You had all the packaging of all the cars cut up and done by colour. So there was like all this stuff. It was just like it was a sensor. It was designed to be like a sensory overload. Like, or but also like lots of details, like lots of little things that which only I would notice, or still in my art now. Like, it's all about these little details sometimes.
In case you haven't heard, you can now purchase Mischief Movement merch. It's all done through T-Mill, a UK print-on-demand platform offering global delivery, organic cotton, and production powered by renewable energy. Not only can you now tell everyone you are a true mischief maker, but if you feel inspired to create your own t-shirts, stickers, or mugs, you could also give T-Mill a try, because it's a great way to experiment your ideas and take fast action with low risk. You'll find the links in the show notes, so write yourself a little reminder for later, and let's get back to the episode.
When I came back to Birmingham, yes, I came back with my degree. Go, yes, I've got a degree. I'm an artist now. And my parents were like, kind of got to work. Kind of got to get a job. Yeah. And I was like, oh, yeah, I do, don't I? So I ended up doing bar work. What I loved about bar work is that you built relationships with regulars, locals.
Yeah.
So I did pubs for a bit, and then I did nightclubs. And then what happened is I was, when I moved to doing the bar, I was photographing the DJs whilst they were DJing. So the nightclub would have like relatively not big-ish DJs, but head candy DJs. People could go out and do Ibiza and whatever. So one of them, because I had my camera when I was at university, I photographed him behind the decks, and it was a really cool photo. It was like long exposure. It looked really cool. I edited it, and he was like, "Oh, could I use that as my album cover?" And I went, "Yeah, I guess." And then by the time that came out, I'd actually left that bar. I left that nightclub because I was like, I did it for a year and a bit.
Yeah.
I went to work at a restaurant, and the CD had come out in that time. So I remember saying to my manager, "Okay, let's pop around to HMV and go and get the album." And I remember running back. Oh, here's my image on the album cover.
That's amazing.
And my boss was like, "Ian, this is the most excited I've seen you. You know, you're not like this when you come to work in the bar." He's like, "I think you need to work in the creativity somewhere. I think bar work just isn't for you. It's great you've got a CD cover, but it just doesn't mean anything to me." Yeah, I was like, "Yeah, okay." I was like, "I know, you're probably right." So I ended up getting a visiting teacher status at the college that I used to go to. So, so I started teaching on like 9 hours. And very quickly it became pretty much a full-time job. But I enjoyed it. Like, and what I enjoyed about that was that I was being creative, and the ideas were starting, like the creative ideas were. I was going, "Oh, this is for this and this, and what about doing this?" And you end up going, "I'm giving away my ideas. Like these are my ideas, and I'm giving them away to a student who may or may not use them." Yeah. And I only did it. I was like, right, if I'm going to be an art teacher, like I need to be an artist. The best way of showing it's a job, or whatever, is that you are doing it. Yeah. And that's what. Yeah. So I was given a radio control car by an ex-girlfriend, and she said to me, "Don't take it down to the studio and don't get paint on it." That's
which, knowing you and knowing how that probably went, is quite funny.
I remember, being presented this gift, and I was like, "Why have you given me a Lightning McQueen radio control car?" Like, okay, yeah, I won't do that. But in the meantime, my granddad had helped build me a studio at my parents'. He could see that I was getting, when I was doing the bar work and stuff, I was getting frustrated that I wasn't creating. So we had converted a garage down the bottom of my parents' house.
So were you still doing the creative stuff in your spare time? Was the bar work there because you couldn't sort of get your foot in the door as a creative in a working capacity?
Yeah, when you leave uni, like, you go, great, you've got a degree, yay. And it's like, they don't actually teach you about business or about like how to be an artist in the real world, because like uni is like the world. Like when you're at university, it's the world of university.
It's a bubble, isn't it?
It's not in the context of a business, particularly creativity. Like, and because I think even if we had some business seminars, I'm not sure I'd actually have enjoyed them or gone to them.
Yeah.
Like, because it can be a bit boring.
Yeah. No, it's just interesting because, I mean, I fell into that trap as well. I ended up with a fashion degree, a footwear design degree, and then as soon as I finished, it was like, right, and now how do I find that amazing job that you've been promising me for the last 3 years?
And the reality is that there's also, there's 36 of you or whatever in your year at your university. There's another 36 at another university. So every year there's, goodness, what?
Yeah.
1,000.
It's just interesting that you ended up in sort of bar and nightclub work, and I ended up working in a bar in a gym. And my new colleague at the same time, joined exactly the same time as me, was my long-term friend, Michelle, who'd also done an illustration degree and was in exactly the same boat. So it's kind of painting a slightly negative picture of what happens to graduates of creative degrees.
But it's real, isn't it?
But this is what happens.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that you've got to make it happen. Nobody's going to, actually, it's that way. If you just go over that, it's my route to it isn't the same way your route to it.
Yeah. And
the reality is now that most jobs don't exist because the tech industry is as fast-paced as anything. How we communicate now isn't how we communicated 15 years ago. I mean, I remember being in Latvia on dial-up internet where we all had to sit in a room and wait for the three people on the computers in front of us to finish their MSN typing.
Yeah.
To then spend, we all had to wait an hour for somebody else's conversation to end. And you go, well, if you did that now, that sounds crazy.
Exactly.
But would I change that process? Absolutely not. Like, I enjoyed the bar work. I enjoyed the teaching. I was teaching when I was 23. Like, some of my students, my mature students, were older than me.
Yeah.
I was just an artist with a tie on in the room going, all right, I've got 30 people for 3 hours. Right. And if you can't think on your feet when you're a teacher, it is the biggest challenge.
Yeah.
It really helped that my parents were both, particularly my dad being an art teacher, like I was able to remember stuff that he had taught me and I'd learned at university and just stuff. And when I was teaching, I was like, right, well, I'm going to be an artist. And then I've got to be an artist. And I was like, well, how do I go about doing that? How do I find how to make it seem like the person who's standing up in front of all these people is on that journey with them or has had the training that they're having. And now I'm on that journey to the next stage of it. So I had the studio at my parents' house, which I was able to be a little bit creative in. So I started painting with the cars in the studio. So just working out actually, how do you paint with a car? How do you create with it? How do you draw with it? What's the process? So
what's the first one that got paint on it? The one that your ex-girlfriend had bought you?
I didn't actually get paint on that one. I was very good. I didn't actually get paint on that one.
I thought you were going to tell it was that one.
I had other cars that I was able to get. I was able to do that. And it was just like I attached pens to the back of the car. I worked out, do I put the paint on the wheels? Do I put paint on the canvas? How do I actually create?
So you're literally just playing around.
And then what happened is that 5 of us at university, 5 in our year got first class. Another friend of mine was Sarah. She then went to work at Wolverhampton Art Gallery and did like a bit of a junior curatorial role there. Again, really determined, like properly feisty. I remember, we clashed a little bit because the best people do clash because you're both passionate about what you're doing. Sometimes you're going to have people in the same industry who are like, oh, I don't get on with this person, because you're probably wired the same way.
Yeah, you want the same thing.
But anyway, she was really cool at organising people, and she put this solo show together in Wolverhampton. So we came up with an idea, and at the same time, the council of Wolverhampton wanted to have a Britain in Bloom. They wanted to, because it was financial crash and things weren't going well in the economy too well. They wanted to put a load of stuff into vacant shop units. So Sarah forwarded an email saying, oh, if artists want to use a vacant shop unit as a studio space or a creation space, here's his number. So I just rang him up and went, yeah, keen to do that. I want to do that. So that's where I was able to have the actual space to start actually doing stuff with cars. Because I needed like 1.5 meter, 2 meter spaces per canvas. And I took over this shop unit and just started to like work out how to actually paint with a car. Do you put paint down or put pens down? And people were watching me paint and draw in this shop unit. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. People watch me. Like, well, if they're interested, the local press will be interested. And at that time, like, there wasn't like Twitter and stuff, or you couldn't just at somebody. Jumped on my phone and find out who was the local press, like in Wolverhampton. So I just rang them up and went, news desk, and you've got 30 seconds to be like, what it is, why, and what's important. So I just rang up and went, look, I'm painting a shop unit, come down, people are watching. It's causing a bit of a fuss. And I got the newspaper down. So well, if I get the newspaper down, I could probably get the TV down.
I love how your mind works.
I was just like, why not? Like, what? I mean, at the end of the day, the worst somebody can say is no. Like, that's if you don't ask. Like,
exactly. But it's like you just said, you've got to make these things happen, and it's incredible. You're there doing it. You're phoning the people and having the ideas and going, who needs to know about this?
22, 23. I was just like, well, I didn't think it worked any other way. So I was just like, rang up the ITV News. Hiya, artist in a shop unit. Do you want to come down to film and have a go at painting with cars and whatever? And they were like, yeah, we'll send down a crew. We'll see you Friday. And it went out on the Friday lunchtime and evening news. And I was like, this is weird, but this is weirdly working. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And then what happened as well is that the local newspapers, because they're all owned by media groups, they then felt the story was good enough to go from Wolverhampton to the Metro newspaper. So they went national.
Okay.
Like this is without like a PR agency or anything. This is just me just going, all right. So then I had ITV ring me again. Oh, do you want to be, because it was then the Paul O'Grady show. Do you want to be on the Paul O'Grady? I'm like, I'm teaching. Which I don't know what's going on. But it all felt, every time I got something else, I was like, okay.
What's next?
This is how it works. Nobody's telling me what to do. I'm just going, well, this seems to be working. So we did that. And I was also doing a lot of car events at the weekend, so creating and doing it as a performance in front of people. So the British Motor Museum down at Gaydon, they had like Supercar Sunday, Father's Day. Yeah. So I started creating at events. And then when I was at events, other events organised went, oh, do you want to come down to our event?
Yeah.
And in my lunch breaks at work when I was teaching, I'd get like one of the car magazines and see what events are coming up. Because at that point, it still wasn't massively internet based. It was all like published in magazines.
Sure.
So I was like, oh, and then there's this event called Goodwood. And I was like, well, it looks like it's across all the magazines. Must be something big. Mm-hmm. So it's the Goodwood Festival of Speed. So I rang them up and went, oh, yeah, I'm an artist. I paint with radio control cars. And I think you want me at the event. And they went, well, how much do you cost? And I went, oh, you're going to pay me?
Uh-huh.
Right, okay. Interesting. So I drove down to Goodwood, having no idea what right. I went, I was like, oh my God, this is huge. Mm-hmm. This is a huge event. I had no idea. Got set up, because basically what they wanted me to do is paint a portrait of Lord March, then now the Earl of Richmond. Portrait of Lewis Hamilton, because it was Hawthorne to Hamilton that year. McLaren on the start line, and Floridino. So I started, doing these paintings. And the Lewis one was particularly good because he was like what everybody was talking about that year was Hamilton and the new kid on the block, with McLaren. So I painted his portrait, then came back to Birmingham. And because I was in the art studio, when I wasn't teaching, I was able to use the art studio. So I put the artworks back up display, got them photographed, did another press, rang the press again, Birmingham Mail, got more, I've done this. And I was getting bits in the local paper every week. It was
I love it though, because it's exactly what you said. If you don't ask, you don't get. And so many people are afraid to do that. And you weren't. You were like, I'll just pick up the phone. What's the worst that can happen?
I think that mentality of yes, of course, sometimes a bit of fear can come in, a bit of like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. But at the same time, you go, well, I just go back to like, if I could do that when I was 23, and I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
I didn't know what a corporate world was. I had no idea. I was fresh out of uni, and I was just going, right, just do it. I mean, what I did learn at uni as well is that you got opinions from people, and I did it with my lecturers. So, like, there was sort of like 4 key lecturers, and then you had visiting lecturers. But I always made sure that they all knew a little bit about my artwork. Okay. And I was also in there. I was in my university space, in my studio space, at like 7 a.m. because I knew that the head of fine art would be walking around at 7 a.m. to see what was in the studios and whatever. He was like this guy. He'd walk around and just take note and whatever. So I was always there. So we'd always have a chat and be like, oh, yeah, how do we, Stephen? Yeah, I'm good. This is what I'm doing now. If we looked at that artist link, like it was always, we were always chatting. So yeah, so for doing Goodwood, I brought the artworks back. And then I was teaching, and then my boss he got a phone call, and he was like, "Oh, somebody's rang about the Lewis Hamilton piece," and I was like, "Oh God, I'm in trouble! Like, what's happened here?" And like, because it was done with Goodwood, I was like, "Look, yeah, if there's any trouble, I'll be like, look, sorry, I was asked by Goodwood to do it." And it turns out that was MC Saatchi, the advertising agency. So Morris and Charles Saatchi, and obviously I knew the name Saatchi because Tracy Emin's Bed and Damien Hirst and all those kind of people. I was like, Saatchi? What do they want? And it turns out they'd seen me at Goodwood. And then they were like, well, how big can you paint? And I said, well, how big do you want it?
That sounds like a challenge.
Like, exactly. Another challenge. I'm like, well, how big do you want? Like, you tell me what you're looking for, then I can tell you if I can work backwards from that.
Yeah.
Or not. So I'm going down to their offices, which was in central London, Golden Square, and we went to the offices and paced it out, and we were like, right, they were like, we kind of want it 12 meters by 8 meters, and I was like, yeah, fine, and they were like, sure, and I was like, how? And they were like, how long do you think it'll take? I was like, week, I think, I don't know. You tell me how long I've got, and I'll work on it. So that then turned into the project where I painted a portrait of Lewis Hamilton, the size of a 3-story building, as a global project for Reebok. To announce him as their new brand ambassador in 2008. Initially, they wanted to go and do it out in Brazil, but then they brought it back to the UK, and we did it in a vacant shop unit on Regent Street in central London. So the main road, over 30,000 people came in to watch it being done. Reebok's most successful advertising campaign they ever did.
Wow. What a lot of pressure, though. Did you feel it? Did you feel the pressure doing that? Or were you still sort of a little bit naive about what's going on?
No, I think some of it was just like, what's going on? I didn't believe it. Because, I grew up in kind of feels about and stuff. And I just simply thought, this is a wind up. Somebody's going to come out and go, ha, joking. So when the canvas arrived at the Customs Factory in Birmingham, we rolled it out. I was like, how big is 12 meters, Dad? And he was like, yeah, that's the size of like 3 double-decker buses on top of each other. He was like, that's huge. And I went, all right, how are we going to do this then? It was like, okay, well, then, we then worked out how to proportion this all up. How much paint do you order? And the thing is, I couldn't tell people what I was doing. So I could kind of like ring people and go, so what material would you use to kind of paint on an outdoor artwork? And they were like, well, there's that. Somebody came out with the plastic material, banner material. I was like, okay, yeah, cool. What are you doing? I was like, I can't say what I'm doing. I'm just trying to work out, what the material is. So we did like tests and whatever. Like literally, I painted, and then we had to jet wash it to see like how much paint would come off it.
Yeah. So
I had a week in central London. What I did manage to do just before it, though, also brilliantly, I was cleaning my cars up, and I managed to put a craft knife into my leg, just before starting it. So the project manager rang me, and she went, "Everything all right?" And I went, "Yeah, I'm just an A&E, I'm just getting sewn back together, but I'm okay." It was an unexpected challenge. Is that because obviously when I'm painting, I'm kneeling down, so to put a craft knife in your leg is when you're kneeling down for a week. It's not ideal.
Oh,
It's not ideal,
God.
but turns out there's a drop-in clinic in Soho which managed to patch me up whilst I was down there. Yeah, I was like, can you just make sure it's okay and it doesn't like weep or anything? That'd be great.
Oh, God.
If you're a small business doing things differently, an independent brand disrupting the status quo, or simply an unconventional, adventurous individual looking to make more of a positive impact, I'd love to hear from you so we can share your story or create some amazing sponsorship opportunities together. I'm always open to collaborations too, so DM me on Instagram at the Mischief Movement.
Was that a real sort of like crucial moment in your career with the giant Lewis Hamilton? Did that sort of launch you, or at least give you the sense of maybe I can make this my living and not the teaching? Or did the two things kind of coincide together for a while longer? How did it all pan out?
Well, weirdly, I went back to teaching the following week after that, and the students were like, "Weren't you on TV last week?" And I was like, "Yeah, don't know what that was, but it was, and that opened my mind to like, there's this whole corporate world when you don't know it exists. It's like, business breakfast meetings. You don't know they exist because you're not, either you're not invited or you don't know about it. But once you know they exist, you're like, there's this other world out there that people work within, and I want to be part of that. And particularly like commissioning, commissioning artworks, corporates. So, funny enough, after the Lewis one, so I'd already been in touch with Blue Peter, and they were like, "Yeah, when you've done something important, we'll have you on the show, but not until then." And it literally, the Tuesday after, I had Blue Peter ring me, go, "Come on, then, come and get your badge."
Amazing.
So, and it was like a child, an 80s child going, "Oh my God, I'm going on Blue Peter." Like it was bigger than the Lewis for me. That was like bigger than the Lewis thing. It was like getting my Blue Peter badge. So I got my Blue Peter badge, which is very cool. And then from there, I just quit teaching. So like it got to a point I was like, well, while I'm getting orders in, I need to look for a studio. So that's where I started. I went, being from Birmingham originally, I was like, well, Custom Factory in Birmingham is generally creativity. So I got a studio at the Custom Factory. Well, I was there for I think 6 months or maybe a year.
Okay, not long.
It kind of got me into like, right, how do I do this as a business properly?
Yeah.
Then the British Motor Museum at Gaydon, they were like, there's probably a space in the museum.
Okay.
Went to so moved over to Gaydon in Warwickshire, and that's where the car industry is. So I then worked for Jaguar Land Rover, and I had some work on Top Gear as well for their art special, which still gets shown now.
Was that really a case of being in the right place at the right time then? Because once you were in the museum, did you find that your network just kind of went bonkers? Because
it didn't. Like it was more. I always found that events were the key. Like I found that events were the key thing. Like particularly from the sciencey thing at Goodwood, I was always like, right, one, I need to be at events as much as possible. Thinking about car events and whatever is that they're generally on the weekend, so it's people's downtime. People are out enjoying themselves and they're stumbling across you as if you're painting or wherever you are. And that's always been a key thing. And I've always been a people person.
Okay.
Yeah. Look, for me, the worst thing is if I'm locked in my studio and I'm like, I'm not seeing people.
Really? Even as an artist that's so passionate about your work, you don't get that sense of locking yourself in and just doing it. You still want the social.
I only get work done in here if I have to. If I'm like,
okay,
I have to get this work done. I have no choice. This is the window that I've got to get 4 artworks done. If I look at my schedule, I'm like, well, I can't get it done there, done there, done there. I've got to get paintings done this week. So that gives me the motivation to go, right, I am in the studio because I need to paint. I have to get this done. Like I'd rather be out somewhere creating because I just feel like more at home. But I also know I have to have a space to work in. The studio is my safe space. And also when I bring clients in here, they can see I'm a car guy. The history is here. The massive Hot Wheels collection, the bits and pieces that I've done over the years, it's all in here. If a client is commissioning, this gives them all right, this is why we're paying that amount of money, is because
it's a studio and a showroom.
it's a showroom, it's a studio. Where I'm based is a creative village, so there's some funky stuff to see. So they go, oh, right, okay, so it gives it that kind of like, this is why we're commissioning. So even during lockdown, like when I started doing the lives, for me, I was missing people in the interaction. So to be able to convert that into an online thing and chat and talk to so many people when we all couldn't see each other, and then other people could jump in and listen to the conversation. But again, that was like I just had to think quick. Like, what do I do? Like, I don't like not seeing or hearing people. Right, let's convert what we try and do physically at a show and do it online. And that's where the drawing started because of that. And the drawings were only ever meant to be a stopgap. They were meant to be a stopgap when I couldn't do the paintings. So as much as we tried to do paintings in a 2-bed flat with, in the garage, it just wasn't going to work. That's when the drawings became the thing. And now, I have paintings and drawings to do. But now I can cater for 2 different markets of kind of gift, people who want to buy something as a present for somebody, like, they kind of anything from £5 to £150, £200. And then the commissions of paintings are the much higher stuff that is still the hero pieces that people commission as well.
Yeah, that's incredible. And where are you going to take Pop Bang Colour next? Because I know you're always about the next project and the next thing. Have you got any ideas, or are you kind of enjoying where you're at?
There's a whole series of things that happen. I'm working with a company called Radical Sports Cars this year. So that's going to be a really exciting project. Can't really say too much about what I'm doing quite yet, but it's quite cool.
Come on.
Can't say it yet. Not allowed. A couple of weeks' time. But I have seen it today, and it looks really cool. I mean, I've been very fortunate enough to travel out. I've done Middle East, I've done Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia, America a couple of times. I've travelled a lot of the UK. I've done bits out in Europe.
I'm sure you're over here at Como or somewhere once, weren't you?
Yeah, that was cool last year with the W Group. Yeah. And that's where the Cars project last year at Goodwood, just, again, it was like, don't ask. A friend of mine introduced me to the creative director for Disney Pixar. So the guy who is responsible for the Cars brand, a guy called Jay. So we met previously at Goodwood Revival. And then during lockdown, I spoke with him because he owns a Porsche. So we spoke about his Porsche and whatever. When it comes to the shows, he judges the shows. So he's brought in as a judge, and he was at this event that I was at. So I posted, I just arrived at Como for this Concours d'Elegance at Villa d'Este. He was a judge, and he was like, "Oh, Ian, I'm at the event. I'm flying in right now. See you there." I was like, "Oh, brilliant, great to see you, Jay. Really excited." And I happened to have brought some prints with me as well, and one of those prints was my Lightning Queen artwork from 2017. So I gave Jay that print and said, "He's like, oh, but this is Cars 2, not Cars 3. It's the old livery on Lightning." And I was like, well, we should do the new one then. We should do an updated one. He's like, I think there's no new movie, but there's a lot of merchandise and stuff. And they also do the Cars YouTube channel and whatever. So I said, well, what about Goodwood? How about I paint the Cars artworks all the days, record, document, film it all at Goodwood at the Festival Speed. And that's what we did last year. So this kind of chance happening in Italy of me going, oh, well, I took a print. I just took a print with me.
But it isn't though, because you're very much making these things happen. And when a chance comes along, you jump on it.
Yeah.
And then, like you said before, when you were teaching, you were thinking on your feet. And there you go again. He's like, this isn't quite the right cars. Like, right, thinking on your feet, we can make it happen. We can turn it into the designs that you're after. And we can do it this way. You put forward such a good idea that they're like, yeah, why not? And suddenly, you've just created yourself a new opportunity. I
mean, Jay was like the most amazing human being I've ever met. He was just brilliant. I mean, to spend a few days with a man who's clearly very important within a massive brand like Disney. Like for him to fly in from California to Goodwood mean, don't get me wrong, he's a car guy. He wanted to be at Goodwood anyway. Like,
Yeah.
he loved being at Goodwood. But his contacts were like, oh, I saw Jensen last night. I'm like, Button. Like, as in, it was like, oh, and then I was painting, and then Tom Christensen is just stood. Like, I'm in the marquee going, is that? Yeah, that's Tom Christensen. And then he was like, oh, Jay said to me to pop down because he's like, did you know I was Hero in Cars? I was like, what? He voiced one of the characters. So he came down to chat to Jay, and then I was introduced to him that way as well. And it's just these things that I was like, I'd never thought I'd experience. It's what I've learned over the years is just like, people, the worst they can say is no. But you can be gracious if they say no. If they go, the amount of projects that haven't happened,
Really?
I'm just like, okay, it's just, it wasn't meant to be.
Okay.
At that point, I'm not going to get upset about it. It's just like something else will come in. I'm a not an oversharer, but I love sharing what I'm doing, and particularly on socials, I like a little bit of me and a bit of business and me. So because people, at the end of the day, people buy people, they invest, I'm the face of it, but also it's I share it and people can associate to it.
Yeah.
That's the joy of being able to share what I do creatively, but also personally, because it's that line of blurring the line of what's PopBa colour, what's being cooked.
It all kind of blends together, doesn't it?
But you need both of them to make it work. Because if I was just like paint, draw, people would just be like, okay, great, it's another painting. But now when I do the paintings, they go, we like seeing that, but we also like seeing the drawings. We like seeing the other stuff that you enjoy as well.
Yeah. So it's interesting because there isn't this sense of a personal brand and a business brand. It's all kind of one and the same mixed together, and you're bringing the personal into the business and the business into the personal.
And the amount of people at events are like, oh, is Cook Senior here? Where's his mother Cook here? Like,
yeah, you got the whole family there, haven't you?
If they're not there, they're like, what's up? Where are they? Like, why aren't they here? We actually came to see them. I think in an ever digital world, where it gets even more blurry line with AI and all that, the things that people can relate to and are real, they invest in more because they can see that I'm physically painting, creating, drawing it. Like it's, I'm very much like the creator of it. I'm on the road doing it. Now, when I do the international stuff, I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'm just starting to do more kind of business networking meetings again, just because I think it's part of the business that probably I've neglected a little bit. Okay. And you never know who's going to be at those business network, because it's like, it's 7 till 10 business meeting somewhere. You meet lawyers and you meet different people, and you never know when you might need them. And you go, actually, I go to all of them as an artist. Like I go in colourful clothes, because when you're in a room full of suits and you're not in a suit, all of a sudden you stand out, and people go, "I want to speak to that person because they look interesting." What?
That. Yeah.
Why has he got paint splattered jeans on? And
I'd have been disappointed if you told me you'd gone and dug out your best black suit and put it on.
Last week I turned up at one and I turned up in my studio car, so it was covered. My car was covered in stickers, and I've got some fitted 3/4 length trousers that are smart trousers, but they are smart shorts, and both are paint splattered. So I kind of go in those, and what I found is it starts a conversation because people go, "Oh, PopBa colour, isn't it?" Because I'm dressed as what I should be, which is on brand. I think it's always interesting to do stuff like that and go out, talk about comfort zones and do that, because it's very easy to go, right, I do car events, that's what I do. But actually, to go and meet a whole different, and that's why, that's why I enjoy the running club. Is I'm not PopBa colour. Like I'm there along with a group of other people to get fitter.
Yeah.
That was completely out of my comfort zone, and that's what I feel it's now become part of my life, and I'm trying to integrate it more so that it's not just like, oh, I did that for a bit. I'm like, no, I'm trying to keep this as part of my improving myself. So
yeah. Are you planning to carry on with doing the events? Because they feel like they're a big part of your, I mean, I don't want to call it a marketing strategy, but it kind of is, because that is the way you get yourself out there and people see you. You get yourself in front of people, don't you?
Generally really love it. If you took, like, when lockdown and stuff happened, like, to lose that, like, overnight, it's like the lifeblood of what I enjoy doing. And it still is, like, because I always say that you never know. I see my events as my marketing, as my, wherever I'm going, I'll be like, right, I'm going there. It might cost this amount, but hopefully it will put me in front of other people, because you never know who's. And then what you find is that people generally don't commission on the first time they see you.
Yeah.
They commission when they've seen you 3 or 4 or 5 times, and they go, "Oh, it's you again." So it's like, "Oh, right, he's not just a guy who's just popped up out of nowhere. It's, oh, you're consistently here." I mean, the amount of people who talk to me and go, "I see you at all the events." I'm like, my reaction is like, "Well, you must go to the best events." Yeah, so it's like,
you're so smooth.
Yeah, you go, well, actually, it's your choice to be here, my choice to be here. We're in the same wavelength. For me, not being able to do it is not an option.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have great weekends, and sometimes you can be walk away and go, "Oh, I didn't make much there," or whatever. But at the same time, it's the emails that come in after and go, "We saw you at," or "I saw you online at," and now obviously I get it. People go, "Are you the same guy who I saw at Silverstone in 2010? I'm like, "Yeah, that's still me."
That's such a good point, though, because so often we hear this stuff about being consistent, and when you're trying to sort of raise your profile, being consistent tends to be associated with an online presence. So it's all about showing up consistently on social media. And I haven't really heard it put out that way before, but it's so true that there is that ability to be consistent also in what you're doing in real life. It's not just about the social media. And the fact that you're showing up again and again at the key events is fundamental to keeping your business going, isn't it, really?
I mean, the thing is, if you don't do an event, like a big event like Goodwood, and you don't do it the following week, they'll just think you've gone out of business. It's that kind of, "Oh, he's gone. I guess he's not doing it anymore." Whether that's a creative thing, whether people it's like it's a hobby. The amount of people also at events go, "So what's your proper job?"
Oh,
and I'm
like, do they?
I'm like,
I didn't think I was going to have that conversation with you. I thought people would realise that. No, they don't.
But it's people who may not have seen me at like if that's their first event.
Okay.
If that's the first time they've seen, if I've popped up at an event that I haven't done before, but they've always gone to, then it's like, "Oh, so how long have you been doing this?" Well, I'm just like, "Well, only 17 years. I think I'm doing all right. I think it's all right." I wouldn't want to be like, "Oh, I'm offended." I just go in with a different angle of like, I mean, it's only been this amount of time, so I'm okay at it now. I think.
Yeah.
An artist as a job, it is a rare thing to hear that is particularly somebody who isn't retired. If somebody when you get so many people who are car designers, or they were something when they've got to 55, 60, they then start painting and drawing in their downtime, and then it becomes a secondary business, because it becomes something that tops up the pension and whatever. There's not a lot of people who are able to do it full time, and that's where talk about consistency. It's because you've always got to be thinking, what's next? What's next? How do I do that? How can I improve? What products should I bring out? Where do I go? But it's like it's like a couple of weeks ago. So I had 2 paintings come back from loan, and a new venue's opened up. I was like, I emailed them. I knew it was a press day, so I dropped a message. Look, I've got 2 paintings that are available, because I've been up there a couple of weeks previous, and I was like, "There's white walls here." I walked around going, "I've got 2 paintings that I want on those white walls." So I arrived, I emailed and said, "Look, got these paintings, happy to loan them out." And they were like, and they emailed me the day before the press. They go, "Can you bring them up before 9 o'clock tomorrow?" I was like, "Absolutely." because that's the answer I wanted. But then because I'd already been there, I also knew which walls I wanted them on as well. So I was like, I put one on this wall and one on that wall. And following that, they've now commissioned their own painting. So had I have not done that, like, put them in under the nose of the right person at the right time, that wouldn't have led to another painting.
Yeah.
Just the idea that if I loan that out, that might lead to something else. And I think you just never know.
Yeah. What do you think you would say to somebody who's listening to this, who is an artist, who's trying so hard to get their work out there and make it their career? Have you got any advice for them?
I see creativity, like how I do things, I see as like a superpower. Like it's how I process, how I work, how I do things. And it is hard work. So even if you feel like, I still find writing really hard.
Mm-hmm.
So he said to me, right, you've got to write a 2,000-word essay. Now I'll be like, meh, can't do that. If you said to me, right, you need to write it into pitch so you can get an artwork on the wall, I can do that. It's no problem. Because it's how you package it.
Okay.
How people communicate, contact each other, TikTok and all that. Like, it's a whole different communicate. Back in when I was doing it, it was like you had to bring a newspaper to get them to come down and whatever. Now you can at them on something and they might react to it. It might go viral.
Yeah.
The language of how we communicate has changed so much. And it's always about trying to change the business or integrate that into the business so that you don't get left behind.
Yeah.
It's about going, right, actually, to interact and get my stuff out there, I've got to be a bit on everything. It doesn't necessarily have to mean I have to be brilliant at it, but as long as you are out there in some way.
I think what you're talking about is the visibility, really, isn't it?
It's keep at it and rather than be like, oh, I'm basing it all on one thing. You've got to go, right, well, okay, that's one thing. Yeah, if I just did one event, based everything on one event a year, it wouldn't work. I've got to be at, I think I was at 45 events last year.
Wow.
Including like midweek events and track days and whatever. Yeah, and I can't say, just one of them was the thing that helped make the business or grow the business. It was a mixture of it all.
Yeah.
So that I think that now it's about visibility, and also I always was like PopBa and Colour is the brand. Like that is what I'm committing to. I don't do it as artwork by Ian Cook or people remember PopBa and Colour as the brand name, as the guy who paints with radio control cars, and also having a USP like that is always, when I paint with radio control cars. When I draw in one single line without taking a pen off paper. And whenever anybody else go, I'm like, well, it sort of goes, there's this other artist. I'm like, yeah, but do they do that or that? No. Well,
I love that because you've created this identity and you've created your signature style, signature products. That's what you're known for, but you're also not confined by those things.
No, and it's about changing and altering and going, right. I dabbled with doing like a live. It was a live feed that was then photographed. That was then recorded for YouTube, and then the audio was for a podcast. So it was the right ingredients. It does still interest me. I've just got to get it right, so it takes up less of my time.
Yeah.
In post production.
I suppose at the end of the day, it's experimenting and just trying lots of different things, as you say. So, what are you currently working on? Is there any sort of projects that you've got going on, or new things that you want to try? What's occupying your time?
Oh, yeah, there's always going to be life stuff that throws curveballs, and I think my granddad was always like a massive influence in what and losing him in 2011 was always that big lot. Like granddad was like a big loss, and then from there I then lost all my other grandparents until Uncle Phil, and then Uncle Phil was the last of that kind of older older generation in the family. And when he passed, we then found his diaries, and actually it opened up like a whole load of stuff that we did. And that's, doing this Chevette, rebuilding that car, as much as a restoration project, but it's also like, it's such a him as a character, as a person. It's fascinating. We never knew. We never knew so much. And rebuilding that car has like also opened up new friendships, relationships, people who've helped me get it to where it is now. And that's something which I never thought would happen.
Okay.
Like, it was,
because I hadn't asked you about the car. I mean, I've seen it on the social media, and I've commented that we used to have an almost identical Chevette as our family car in the early 80s. So I was like, oh, I remember this car, but I haven't actually asked you about it. Do you want to tell me how that project's come about?
Yeah, so that was my Uncle Phil's car. So Uncle Phil was my granddad's brother. So he had that car from 1977 from new up until he drove it till 2011. And it was his daily. Eventually got to a point that it was just rusted, and Chevettes just rust because of how they're built. But for me, that car signified Christmas. So when I was a kid, my Christmas presents were in the boot of it. My uncle wanted to just get rid of it and just get rid of it, and I was like, no, I'll save it. So I pulled it out of his garage and had it collected from him, and it went into storage from 2012 up until 2019. It kind of got moved around a bit, just so I could be like, I was like, I can't afford it right now, because it is a money pit. But actually, like, sharing that story has been amazing. Like, and like yourself, people going, "Oh, I had one of them." Like, because you don't see them anymore.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it conjures up memories for other people.
Yeah.
But it's also the memory of that car arriving and Christmas starting when I was a kid. So when it actually starts up, like, to have achieved that, I was told it would be a waste of time, and I'm really excited to when I can actually take that from Cleveland Mortimer to Clee Hill, to recreate that journey my uncle used to do. It's been a 5-year restoration.
I love that. Yeah.
The car community and cars, that's what it's about, is you're meeting people and you're going, driving to an event and seeing others. It's not necessarily always about the metal that you arrive in. It's actually you're arriving there to meet your friends and socialize and enjoy yourself. So when I'm not working, I'll be able to take that car for a ride, and I'm putting my own flick on it. Like, it's not going back to standard. It's and being able to talk to people about what to do with it has been, even last weekend, has been great to get people's reactions to it.
I love that, because you are creating conversations around it. I mean, the most fun thing is when you just start creating conversations with people about your project car.
Yeah, and the amount of people with that Chevette, like, oh, my granddad, I rolled one into the amount of people who've rolled one into a ditch. 5 friends on a night out, or pushing one back because it ran out of fuel, and like, there's all these things that a car that I rescued out of a garage. But this is the same uncle who was a ballroom. We never knew was a ballroom dancer. Like we just it's not until we got his diaries and we started to go through. He kept a diary from 1950 to 1957, where he documented every day. And just, matter of fact, this happened this day. The most beautiful handwriting in the world. And weirdly, because he was such a quiet old man, we just never knew that actually he had a really exciting life.
Oh, that's amazing.
He just didn't share. And now I can share it because I'll be driving his car. I'll be like, actually, this man who was a quiet man we only ever saw at Christmas, and this car had my Christmas presents in, actually was somebody who had a whole life that we only found out after he passed away. we've also got all the letters that my granddad sent to him as a brother. So you can start really seeing this. You get to know the person the car I'm driving because I inherited the car. And what's fascinating about his diary is that he wrote all these diaries for 7 years, and then the last part of that diary, it just says, if somebody is reading these diaries, I have no regrets. And it's like a cliffhanger. It's like a proper Netflixy kind of like thing of like, oh my, like you just really go, oh my god, like I'm reading, that was for me. So yeah, and what was lovely that last week at the classic, I was able to bring my uncle, my mum's brother, who was why I got into cars, and he was the car designer. He was able to come and see the car. Got him to come up to Birmingham, see the car, see what I've done with it, and as an engineer, he loved. He was really excited. So to see his excitement about something that I'm building as a passion project, is that really made it for me. So
I love that, and I also love that glimpse of your slightly rebellious streak in you, because they did tell you that it probably wasn't worth it. You did it anyway.
Totally. I mean, if I tallied up the cost of it to what it's worth,
but it's got emotional value to you, It's
God, yeah. I mean, every time I speak to it, occasionally I'll start welling up. Like I said, the cars is just the metal. It's actually what the memory, what brings it back, and what it means. And that's what's nice to be able to share.
Yeah, I guess the only other thing I really want to ask you is, having done all of this, having worked so hard for your artwork, are you happy with where you're at now? Does it bring you joy? Are you excited when you get out of bed and you know that you're painting, and that you're actually making money from your painting and your drawings as well?
Yeah, people say to me, like, what's your favorite piece? I always say my next piece, always. I'm very fortunate to be able to do what I do. I've worked for it, but I've also, over the time I've done it, I'm fortunate that I was able to be at the right, when it's right time or whatever. I enjoy doing what I do. Oh God, it's hard work, man. Like it's, if I said to somebody like, yeah, you've got to be doing this pretty much 7 days a week, and you won't really have you've got to be forced to go on holiday. You've got to guarantee that you can pay a mortgage, pay rent, if you put all of those pressures together, some people go, oh, I'm out. I can't do that. Like,
exactly.
And when you've got, paintings take 12 hours, 12, 15, 20 hours to do, but you've got to be on it for that's all you do. Like, I've just got to put a podcast on and be like, right, I'm painting, that's what I've got on, and I'm just in my own little zone. But the thing is, when I'm painting, I love it. Like, I just zone out. That's what I'm doing.
Is that your flow state when you're painting?
Yeah. I can just do it. Just do it. And I love it. It's a beautiful state of mind to be in, but it's just finding the time to do it. And also, you've got to be in the right set. You've got to be in the right mindset. Like, if you're not in the right mindset, that painting is going to be crap.
Yeah.
So, like, you've got to be like, right, I'm producing the best painting I can at this time now for this amount of hours. No distractions.
I love that. I've loved hearing just how you have created this brand from literally nothing and built it up over the last, what would you say, 17 years?
However long 2007 is. Yeah. 2007, 8. Well, you just got to do it. Like, if you are committed to being a freelance artist, a freelance creative, you give up more than anything. But I'm not the boss to anybody. I am somewhat guided by brands who want to interact and want to do stuff. But at the same time, I'm that kid who was really good at art, and now I'm the guy who does art, and that's all I do. I'd be the worst employee because I don't know what my If I went to the job centre now going, yeah, I've worked for 17, 18 years on my own. What do you do? Yeah, paint the cars. They'll be like, what? Yeah, we don't know what to do with you. So like, there isn't another option. And I just, for me, I just want to keep doing that quote: bigger, brighter, louder, faster. Like, just keep doing that. Like, that is my motivation, is to just do what I do, but better. So I can go, when people go, oh, have you painted with a real car? Yes, I've done that. I've got a Guinness World Record. Been on Top Gear. When people go, oh, you've done that. Yeah, it's tick, 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 tick.
Is there anything left that you haven't ticked? How's your bucket list looking?
I would like to go back to America. I would like to do America properly now. Like,
so what does that look like for you then? When you say like, I want to do America, does that mean like
I'd like to go, properly road trip it, like go and do like some really big events like NASCAR, do NASCAR, IndyCar, or some of the really big hero US events.
Yeah. So where can people find out more about you? I'm guessing on all the socials, and probably you've got events coming up.
All the socials, PopBa colour on everything, all one word. Yeah, so mainly I do it. Instagram is my main source, but I share that onto Facebook anyway, Facebook page, and I am on LinkedIn, but I don't really. I know I should be like, and here's my business, but I think most people know me on Instagram, so
yeah,
you can find me on there as well. I just don't really post anything.
Amazing. Well, I guess in that case, people's best chances of seeing this stuff are actually to come to one of the events and see you drawing or painting in place.
Good Sense of Speed, definitely this year. Good Revival. I've had an interesting email today, but I can't say anything. That could be quite.
You can't keep doing this to me. If you're going to give me this little tidbits, you've got to give me a bit more than that.
No, it just came into that literally about an hour before our conversation. I was like, "Ooh, this could be quite exciting."
You're such a tease.
I know, but that's just. I don't know what they want yet. So, I'm
trying to get the exclusives here, but it's just not happening, is it?
I don't know if it's just one of them. It's like, this is what I kind of like. This is what I kind of like about the job. It's like, this morning there was not an email. Now there is an email that could lead to something.
Yeah.
But they're a big brand. They're very well known.
Just stop. Ian, it's been amazing, and I wish you a fantastic summer full of events. And can't wait to see your next big project, because I know it's going to be the best one.
Pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Keep up the amazing work.
I'll try. I'll get back to it straight away.
Phew, that was a long one, wasn't it? But there was so much good stuff in there. So here are my 10 takeaways from this episode. Number 1, remember that there are no rules, especially when it comes to creativity, so you get to rewrite them or simply throw away the book. 2, be unafraid to turn the volume up on who you are. Think bigger, brighter, louder, faster, and cultivate your self-belief so no matter who criticizes you, you don't veer off the path towards your goals. Take that feedback, filter it, and use it only if it really serves you. 3, follow your excitement. Find a way to integrate into your week or month some time to do what lights you up, especially if you're starting to feel frustrated at the lack of creativity in your life. 4, be audacious in the pursuit of your goals by making things happen and being your own PR manager. Find out the contact details of people you know would be interested or would benefit from your skills. Get media or influential people involved, so whilst you help them out, you also increase your visibility. 5, don't be afraid of rejection. The worst someone can say is no, but don't take it personally. Often, rejection is just a form of redirection anyway. So keep calm, write it out, and then move straight on to the next thing. 6, when an offer comes up that really excites you, say yes and then figure out the rest later. 7, look for networking opportunities or even inspiration in unlikely places. If you're an artist, step outside the creative world. If you're a business manager, get into poetry or nature or something that is completely unrelated. You get the idea. Expand your world by thinking differently. 8, if you're looking for visibility, being consistent doesn't just apply to social media. Think about where you show up in real life too. Regular networking, fairs, events, co-working spaces, and classes are all places where you can be found, seen, and heard. 9. Get yourself known for your signature style, whether that's a particular product, a technique, a way of dressing, but make yourself unforgettable. And 10. Sharing your passion is the greatest gift you could ever give. Ian's restoration project has started conversations, built connections, and brought back memories for people. So don't underestimate the power of storytelling and the emotional value of pursuing something that's meaningful to you, because the chances are it's meaningful to others too.
Well, I hope you loved today's episode and it made you think differently, or perhaps nudged you into changing something in your life that's not working for you. I'd love to give you a shout out right here on the podcast too, so let me know what you think, what you'd like to hear more of, or how you've been inspired to take bold action. Let's keep in touch over on Instagram at the Mischief Movement, or click the link in the show notes to sign up to my Mischief Mail newsletter, where you'll get exclusive insights on upcoming episodes and your chance to submit questions to future guests. But shh, don't tell anyone, it's our secret. Please keep spreading the word about the podcast. You're doing such an amazing job, and I'm also super grateful for your 5-star ratings on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, which seriously help my mission to inspire and empower more people like us to choose mischief over mediocre. Have a great week and keep making mischief. Ciao.
This waffles on and keeps going on tangents. Stop getting on tangents, Cook. Come back. Beautiful. All right. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.